Hey guys, Kevpert here, and today we're going to do a quick camera settings video. This is something I've thought a lot about. As you may know, I have very wacky settings, and they're very different from freestyle settings or the common pro. So let's get into it. We have field of view at 110, 360 distance, 160 height, -6. These three work together. 1.0 stiffness, swivel speed 2.3, and transition speed 2.0. So let's cover swivel speed first. To understand that, I have my control set up for it. So rear view is on square instead of right stick click. That's just so I can reach over with my thumb, which is really resting over X, circle, and triangle on my controller to just go and hit square. And with camera swivel down, right, and left, I have it mapped to buttons I can push instantly. Now, it's not actually right D-pad, this is my right paddle. I have a Sony attachment that I've added to my Sony DS4, and I can just push this with my right ring finger. So these are all things I can push instantly while I'm playing. So camera swivel down is really nice at 2.3 swivel speed. If you have it any higher, you reach, max input really quickly. So I like to slow it down, and that's really nice. So just swivel down in and of itself is really nice because on a kickoff, you can actually see behind the ball by hitting L1, and then maybe you don't get faked in once. So that's something I'm trying to work on with a dribble. So there's some certain situations where I'm like, I just got dunked here, but now I can actually look behind the ball instead of going into free ball cam, which is kind of it's kind of terrible. And the last thing for these settings is because I can push all these things very quickly, I can be technically mid-aerial, do look down. I lose all control of my car though, but there's a lot of things you can do in terms of vision, like you're rotating around, looking around, okay, not getting bumped here, and so on. So you can have really good field awareness. So this stuff doesn't really depend on your other camera setting. You can have just good swivel speed and good use of your right stick, or really good use of buttons that you might have open, and just have a look around and see where teammates are while you're doing stuff on the ball or close to the ball. Okay, so next thing is transition speed 2.0. This is something Yannick and Xeon Furia uses. Complexity AJG, he uses 1.9. So it is becoming a little more popular. There's a few situations it's really good in. So for example, the air dribble, right? So notice how in my air dribble, I'm just gonna rewind it. Right, when you're in ball cam, you have very low awareness of what's going on in front of you. But if I switch cameras, I could see where the opponents are, if anyone's up or something like that. So that's something you can do. I've noticed in pro comms, what they'll do is they'll say, for this vision gap, like someone's gonna go up in ball cam, they'll go, is he up? Yeah, he's up, he's floating, or no one there, the backboard or something like that. They cover it, but that's not really reality for you playing at ranked or playing at a lower level. The other situation where transition speed is really good is, say you're opening up for a redirect. Okay, something like that, right? If you're in ball cam, or you have a very slow transition speed, it's not really worth looking forward. But if you look really quickly, let's actually set that up. So look quick and then receive the pass. It's a little awkward. You know that the goal is open, you can actually go for the redirect, or you might know that, there's a player there and I need to fake out. The last situation I think this is really useful in is bump plays. So let's say you're doing a dribble, you get 50, and then your teammate has the dribble, and you want to know the speed of the ball, and then go for the bump, instead of just staying in free cam the whole time. Now with lower transition speed, let's say like 1.1, which is pretty common, or 1.2 maybe, doing that is not really feasible, and you just get this blurry mess. So 2.0 is something I like. Alright, so next let's go into distance. Now, let's say I have 300 distance with these camera settings. Well, that's a bit unfortunate because the car starts disappearing when the ball's a little high, right? So there you can't really see much of the ball. and I'm going for an aerial and I can't see maybe 2/3 of my car. So 360 is that sweet spot for me where if I'm at high height and high angle, I can actually see most of my car, right? Pretty much, I see 4/5 of my car, or 2/3 at the very minimum. .1.0 stiffness, I think the way this works is it's a formula. If you do 1.0 minus whatever your stiffness is, say it's 0.5, and it's 1 minus 0.5, 0.5 left over, multiply it by 100, 50. That's how much it's going to add to your distance when you're at supersonic. So this should be 410 distance. Now, I just don't like that variable car size change, so I just keep it at 1.0. It is a little jarring when you're going down a wall or something, right? That transition is not very smooth, and I don't really like drifts too much and how they look in free cam, so I do more of them in ball cam, to be honest. I might do 0.95 at times just to smooth that out, but in general, I don't want the car size changing. I wish you could separate some of these things, like with the with lower stiffness. Drifts look a little better and look a little more smooth, but it's just a little trade-off. And these haven't been separated by Psionics, and I feel like they should. I feel like your car size shouldn't have to change for you to get nice looking drifts, and like these are kind of like slow moving transitions whenever you're changing direction very quickly. Now, the main thing that everyone has questions about is, why is my height so high and my angle so high as well, right? In the past, they've even been this, and this is just to optimize vision. And if you look at the ground, right, so let's just look at the field here, you can see all the pads, and I can see the distance between, say, that pad in front of the net versus the pad that's in front of it versus the midfield pads, and I could use the ground as a ruler with which I see all the players and I see all the relationships between them, relationships between them and the ball, how close they are, if I'm going to beat someone or not. So this is a very ground-based camera. If I go into an aerial, right, some of these touches look terrible, and it's very hard to see what's going on because it's almost like I have camera shake. The ball cam is just bouncing around like crazy. So I had to do a lot of my aerial play with free cam. Now with 160 height and -6, it's a little flatter, so I can strike the ball a little more consistently. So for an air dribble, it's not as bad, right? It still moves around a little bit. So that's really the main reason between this. Now, for kickoffs, I hate getting faked on kickoffs. So you can see a little bit behind the ball. You don't see too much, so I need to do a little bit of L1 action. But one thing I try to do with my dribbles is look at the opponents, and I can definitely do that with my current camera settings. So it's definitely a more ground-based camera. So I guess the main thing people ask is, how do you be mechanical with these settings? Well, I'm Kevpert, so I have all the training packs. I have all the training methods to kind of cover up those issues and really work on those areas that are kind of trade-offs in my game. So one of the main trade-offs with this is if you try to do a ceiling shot and you're above the ball, well, you start looking really down at the ball, so it's kind of hard to figure out like depth perception. So you have to cover that with practice. One thing that's really nice about these is flip resets are very easy to do because you can see all 4 wheels, and you have quite good depth perception. Now, things with precision, I don't really understand that argument because everyone uses Octane and Fennec, and those do not match the hitbox. Car like the Roadhog, so I'm just going to put on my hitbox here. you can actually see matches the hitbox a lot better, so it's actually going to be easier to be precise with a car like this, and I can get away with maybe farther settings with just a more matching hitbox. So I'm going to turn that off. And of course, precision also comes from practice. Now, do I recommend these settings? For the most part, I say no. Unless you're a very serious player, then I would say, yeah, maybe it depends. So when you have pro camera settings, well, the nice thing about that is pros use it. And they're pretty much all the same, so you're watching Squishy, Rattles, whoever you like, AJ, Monkey Moon. You pretty much have the same camera settings, so you have this huge library of replays and Twitch VODs and YouTube videos that you can watch, and it looks like your gameplay, so it's more relatable and you can learn a lot more from that. For this channel, my camera settings are always going to be different, so unless you want to play like me, which would be which is flattering, I wouldn't really recommend it for that purpose. But if you're willing to follow like my training plans and work really hard in your mechanics, you have to work maybe 1.5x hard or doubly hard on mechanics, you'll cover up a lot of those deficiencies and you'll get this extra benefit of vision. So that's really the main thing. It just depends on what your goals are. You can easily hit SSL with these settings. I say easily, it requires hard work, of course, but it's very possible to hit SSL. And I think even go further in pro. Now, that's something I haven't really pursued in a couple years. I competed for a long time. I spent a lot of hours in this game, and that's why I have so much experience, especially with training. I think that pretty much covers all the main points I wanted to hit, so at this point, if you have any questions or further questions, just put them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer them. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Peace.